In some ways, wanted to be a writer when I was young. I come from a novelistic background. My first novel came out a few years ago, and this is my first film. In some ways, the way I work is it's more about the material than even sort of being the writer of the material. I would joke on set that if I wasn't the writer of the Imitation Game, I would have been a PA. I just really wanted to work on the Alan Turing story. I felt this was such an important story that needed to be told, and I would have been a PA on set, and I am so lucky that I, through just a bizarre set of circumstances, was lucky enough to get to be the writer. I'd been obsessed with this story since I was a kid. I had always wanted to write about Alan Turing, and then, it was this thing where over the years I would go to my agents and I would say, you guys, there's this film I really want to write about a gay English mathematician in the 1940s who commits suicide after he's chemically castrated by the government. And they would say, that's a great idea for like a Hollywood movie. That's not what they said. They were like, please don't write this. We beg you not to do this. Don't ever write this movie. I remember the day right after I met Nora Grossman and Ito Ostrowski, the producers who brought me on. I called them and I said, I met these people. They have the rights to the Alan Turing story. They want to bring me on to do it. I've agreed to do it for free. They're not going to pay me. I'm going to work on it for the next year. I don't care. I just have to work on this film. And they said, please don't do this. This is the worst career move you will ever make. This is a terrible idea. And I said, thank you so much, but this is the Alan Turing story, and I just have to be a part of it. Every day of my life since I have met Benedict Cumberbatch is different than every day before. And it was the dream of a lifetime. I mean, this was such a difficult character. Alan Turing is such a complicated historical figure, and we needed an actor of that caliber to be able to portray him. There are very few people in the world who could have done it, and I'm so grateful that we got the only person I can ever imagine playing that role. Oh, I would never even allow myself to think of Benedict in my head. It was too perfect. It was like if I just thought of Benedict saying a line, it was like, oh, we're never going to get him. He'll never say yes. He'll never do it. And that was what was so exciting about sort of, I met him, and his passion for the material was even greater than mine. I mean, that was what was so great about this movie is from myself to Nora and Ito and Teddy to Morton to Benedict and the whole rest of the cast, every time we'd have a meeting, they would have read 10 more books on the subject, and they'd read 5 more articles, and they'd, have you found this? Have you read that? The story of Alan Turing is this sort of endlessly fascinating thing that once you start to hear about it, you just want to know more and more and more, and to watch that cast pursue the material with the same vigor that I once had as a teenager was so thrilling. I was a religious history major in college, believe it or not. I didn't even come from a writing background. When I was a teenager, though, I was sort of obsessed with computer science. I went to space camp. I went to computer programming camp, which my mother, who you talk to, will tell you was the dorkiest possible thing a 14-year-old could ever have done. I don't know why she let me do it, but she did. And so I'd always been fascinated by computers. And among computer science people, Alan Turing is an object of endless fascination and sort of devotion. So that's where I first heard his story. I mean, so Alan Turing was essentially the forefather of the modern computer. He was the guy who hatched the ideas for the computer and the technology that is in all of our phones and laptops and everything every day. That was him, but that story was sadly kept classified by the government for many years because he did it during the war, and there were war secrecy concerns, and then there was his persecution for being a homosexual after the war. He's someone who should have been... Alan Turing is a figure his face should be on the money. He should be on the front page of every history book. But instead, he was sort of castrated and murdered by the government and died way too young.